Alright, so I'm just gonna come out and say it real quick. Burnout sucks. It drains your energy, it kills your motivation, and just kind of leaves you feeling empty inside when that happens. It's a terrible thing. Hey there, I'm Chris, and we're gonna go over ways of how we both reach a point of burnout and a couple ideas and things we can do to help get ourselves over the hump and back into the game again. So, what am I talking about? We're talking about burnout. It's really going to come from two different factors. It can come really slowly, or it can come kind of all at once. So you're probably really familiar with the all at once, and that usually comes from an escalation that then hits a crescendo and can't go any further. So the example I'll use on this is I'm going to go out running right now. I might start and doing this could take years to go through the process, but you might start you're standing on the couch, you start running 5Ks. Once you kind of get used to that, you'll jump into a 10K, then maybe start doing a half marathon. Then you want to jump and try that full marathon, go for an ultra marathon. All of a sudden you keep escalating, everything keeps going more and more and more and more until you realize you just can't do anymore. The other stuff in your life is still there. You still have work, you still have family, you still have other obligations. And all of a sudden you're taking up so much time and energy going to the escalation of whatever you're interested in, that all of a sudden it just doesn't work anymore. And you wind up feeling like it's more work than it is fun. And that's kind of the primary way you're gonna burn out on that. The secondary is it can come really slowly over time. Now, I was an advisor for a college student group for about 14 years, which I did throughout my time doing this. And from that, they would have a number of service projects they would do, kind of community service things. They would kind of do this, that, and the other. And a lot of the projects they'd had may have started early on in the formation of their chapter. And then as time went on, they just kind of go through the motions and kind of keep doing the same thing over and over each year. And the reasons they went and started some of these in the first place may have disappeared over time. And now they're just kind of going through the motions without really understanding why they're doing some of the things they're doing. And you're kind of like a zombie going through this stuff. And at that point, it's time for a change. And with both situations, it's time for self-reflection and it's kind of time for change. How do we get that spark back in there again to make what we're doing interesting, fun, and ultimately doable, so that we don't just stop doing it completely, we can kind of keep moving forward in a way that's productive for ourselves. And for that, there are really three main ways we can go about doing this. The first is you can change your motivation on what you're doing. You may wind up doing the exact same thing in the end, but the reason you're doing it might be different and might provide the spark. The second is if you do move away from something, understand what works for you. You've built up a lifetime of experiences. You know kind of how your own self operates, what your interests are. So you can find a piece of what you like in the thing that just burned you out, and you can bring it over to another activity that may share a similar aspect, but it's a different experience. It'll provide a different set of experiences for you. And the third is just going to be a complete clean break. If you're a runner out there, you've been running for years, all of a sudden you can go and join a book club or something that's 100% different. You just need a complete change of environment, and that's good for you. But that said, the complete break off of things doesn't really give me a whole lot to work with on this video here. So I'm just going to go ahead and ignore that one for the time being. You can do that, but I'm just going to go ahead and ignore that for the time being. All of a sudden the gnats just came out. Awesome. So in terms of changing motivation, what I'm going to use is kind of the classic example of you're making your New Year's resolution back in January or whatever, or coming up in January. I guess the next January is closer than the previous one is now. Yay, we're later in the year. Where you make let's say, the quintessential goal, I'm going to go ahead and lose weight. I'm going to get myself in shape, and I'm going to go ahead and lose weight because it's good for me to do that. And that's really great. You may be gung-ho at that thing for the first 2, 3, 4 weeks, whatever. Then it usually kind of trails off in the end after that, because there's no real goal aside from just losing the weight. So rather than set the goal as lose weight, you can say, okay, in 3 months, I want to go and take my kids, nieces or nephews, or grandkids, whatever that. I want to go I want to do this, go for a hike or something with them, or go out to a climbing gym or something with them. Set an actual goal, a specific goal somewhere down the line that you can do once you do lose the weight you want to do. And this will give you a motivation to then keep going through. It's not just for yourself, you're doing it to accomplish something else either for someone else or to do that. You're not just doing it to lose weight itself, you're doing it to basically create an experience with the benefit that you just gained from that. So I'm going through this right now with kind of the Spartan racing. I know I'm wearing a different shirt. Oh, savage. I'm allowed to wear different shirts. That's fine. I can do this. But I'm going through this kind of right now with Spartan, where up until the 2022, when I went, I was for a number of years kind of in that COVID-ish time, I really wanted to go to that Ultra World Championship. I had kind of been tracking those online for a couple of years. It was something I really, really wanted to do. And that kind of drove a lot of my interest up until that. And finally 2022 came around and I hit the original requirements they gave for participating in Worlds, which was finish top 10 in your age group in any given race you did. I finally did that, even though that was no longer a requirement at that point. But I still wanted to go for the old school rules for that one. It's like, all right, I finally did this. And I was going to go to Worlds, have a good time with that, but it unfortunately got canceled that year because of forest fire. But kind of ever since then, I've been a little more in that second category on this, a little more kind of a zombie kind of going through. I've been going through a lot of the motions, but that initial goal I had of kind of aiming towards World hasn't really been there. I've just been, a lot of this has been going through the motions. Putting this last year, putting like the training stuff on camera helped. It really did. But just kind of going through this last Pomodin race again kind of really made me realize that I need a change. What I'm doing right now kind of works, but it kind of doesn't. So I'm changing my motivation. I'm going to keep doing the Spartan races. I still haven't officially signed up. I guess I'm waiting for a sale or something to come on, which is kind of rough in the middle of summer. But I do really want to do this tri-state race coming up in New York over on Halloween. And like I said, I'm actually really excited because that one I do want to treat as a race again. After that Worlds attempt, I didn't really have it in me to go the full all out like I did when I trained for that. So I'm kind of hanging back and just kind of going through it. But this one I really do want to treat like a race again. And I do want to really, really go for a good time and actually not just do this for the sake of getting in shape, but I want to do this for the sake of getting a really good time on this course. And I'm actually super excited now for this one. It's going to be great. Training's going to suck, but the event itself should be really, really good. And I'm actually happy. On paper, it's the exact same thing. Nothing has changed, but the motivation behind it is completely different. And I'm super happy about that. Again, the other way you can do is self-reflection. I said idea number 2 is self-reflection, and kind of figure out if you don't want to keep doing what you are doing, which was actually earlier in my life here. Let's go before the Spartan stuff. I did duathlons for about 5, 6, 7 years, whatever it was. And over the summers, I'd be doing kind of those in there, which if you're not familiar with that, a triathlon, you'd swim, you'd bike, and then you'd run. Duathlon is run, bike, run. I didn't grow up with swimming. I grew up on a track when I was in high school, so never got into the swimming part. So I did that for a number of years. Then again, kind of like this, I kind of realized I was just kind of going through the motions after a while, and I needed a change. So that's kind of where I found the Spartan from. It was something different. It was obstacle course racing, but unlike, say, American Ninja Warrior stuff, which is like pure upper body, obstacle, Spartan and these types of races, like the Savage races and those types of things, were more kind of half trail run, half obstacle course things. And being I had the running background, that was kind of, I could take something from that. I could take something from my track in high school. I could take something from the duathlons and stuff I did before, and I can bring this into the new event that I was doing. And yeah, even when I did that, the very first race I did was a beast distance one, a half marathon distance, because I realized that was going to be more running in between obstacles statistically than the shorter ones. So even when I got into it, I tried to ease my way in and find a method to get into this that again brought my strengths from my previous life into the new way to go about this. So you can always do that. That becomes a very powerful way to move off of one element that you may be completely burned out on and into another one. It'll then provide new experiences. It gives you new stuff. And then if you ever go full gung-ho on that one and burn out on that, it gives you more options, then move off onto something else, if ever that comes to be. Usually my life cycle on these lasts about, 5, 6 years. And then I try to go and to find something else to kind of fill it. So that does happen. That is part of the game. But it does come down to once you realize you kind of have that empty in you kind of dead feeling, like I just don't want to move on anymore. It does help to kind of reflect on that and see really what does make you tick, and then go from there. Outside of physical stuff, again, this is really easy to demonstrate on kind of running or kind of sports kind of things. It does go into other stuff as well. You can do this in academics, you can do this in arts, you can do this in music. It's the same type of effect does happen on those. Again, I'm kind of going through this with the modeling side of my project right now, where I've been doing that one. I've been doing a lot of models for probably 4 years or so, I think is when I started those. And then I thought one way to kind of reinvigorate things was I'm going to put these on video. Hey, I'm going to put these things out. I'm going to have everyone see how you do these things. I can kind of be a teacher towards that. I thought this would be great. And just kind of going through this last model here that I'm kind of finishing, I'm going to be honest with you, I am kind of burning out on this last one. We will finish it. I have like 2 more sessions left on the building side, and then it's just painting and done. So I will finish this up. I would like to get the building part done this week, so hang tuned for that. It looks freaking good. But I think after this, I'm going to step back, take a pause. I'm going to let the Spartan race stuff really take over my time, because I'm actually really excited about that one. So that's going to be the bulk of my time. The modeling side is going to fall back, and during my fallback time, I'm going to see if I can find a way to make my videos better than they were. I know this kind of started on burnout. Now I'm kind of slowly transitioning into where I'm going to go from here. But the initial core idea behind the building part was I wanted to show how things work, show it all goes together. And I've kind of come to realize that I don't really have an audience for what I'm doing. Yes, I put the videos out, but I realized they're not really I don't really have the charisma it takes to make the types of videos that I want to work. So I think I need to step back, reevaluate how I'm going to do this. And I would like to give one more push on that, see if I can get this to work as kind of an educational or entertainment type activity. But I think it's one of those, I need to reevaluate what's important on that part, and then just try to find a way to make my videos more digestible and fun to watch, so anybody who does kind of find their way into them or stumble upon them will actually want to watch these types of things. So I'm kind of burned out with the way that is going. I think when I first started there 5 days a week, I'm now doing 3 days a week at half-hour segments. I have been scaling back, but even this is too much. It might be jump back into like once a week or once every other week, put out a more substantial kind of video or more condensed kind of video. I don't know, but I'm going to take some time to figure that out, because what I have going on right now, I realize just isn't quite living up to the expectations I'd initially put out for myself when it came to that. But yeah, no, the burnout idea, it sucks, but it's usually temporary. And as long as you can find some way to regain a spark, either in what you're doing by changing your motivations toward it, or taking the good stuff you had from the activity you're doing and bring it into something else, it's worth just like giving those 2 ideas a shot, so you can kind of get over the hump and into something else, and into some way that you can actually get excited again for what we're doing. So I'm looking forward to this, because next week I do start training. Well, training, I'm going to put that in air quotes for next week. It's going to be 3 runs this coming week, and that's it. Again, when I start training, I usually spend the first couple weeks just kind of slowly getting my way into this again. So first couple weeks are going to be a little slow, then we kind of start picking up from there. But I am getting really excited. It's finally a new spark I have. I haven't felt this way in a while, and I'm looking forward to having a good time. And I wish, if you're kind of feeling in that kind of down in the dumps feeling yourself right now, I wish you all the best in getting yourself over that hump and finding some way to get that spark back. So that's all I want to say before I ramble on. That's it, and enjoy.